Big 12 Nation, what's going on? Let's get back into these scores, these highlights. Let's go over last week's crazy situation in the Big 12 Conference. So we'll start Friday night, the 27-24 win. Arizona State got over TCU. So if anybody saw this game, you remember TCU got out to an early lead. And I remember Arizona State was favored, but I thought TCU had a legitimate shot to win. So I knew it was going to be a tough game. But I remember it was, I believe, 17-14 halftime TCU. And then Arizona State just kept plugging away. And in that fourth quarter, they scored 10 points. And TCU didn't score any. We'll go over the stats, and one stat I remember off the top of my head is TCU's quarterback. When TCU's quarterback plays well, they can't be stopped. But check out his numbers: 20 for 32, 242 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Shout out to Arizona State's defense for doing what they needed to do. Their rushing attack: Trent Battle had 9 carries for 30 yards, 1 touchdown. Jeremy Payne, 6 carries for 20 yards, 1 touchdown. Not a good rushing night for the TCU Horned Frogs. We'll jump to defense. Their leading tackler was Caleb Alarms, or he had 13 total tackles. So shout out to him. But let's go over to Arizona State. Listen to this. Sam Levitt, 27 for 39, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That could be very easily the 3-point difference. Rushing, Raleek Brown, he got 21 carries for 134 yards. And then Sam Levitt had 13 carries for 62 yards and a rushing touchdown. Sun Devils defense, their leading tackler was Miles Rouser. So shout out to the Sun Devils. Heck of a win on Friday night. If you didn't catch the Houston game, it was one heck of a game. Houston was favored to win by a lot. Oregon State is not that good, as y'all can see. Not many teams go up like Oregon State did and didn't finish the job. Houston came all the way back, won 27-24. They're 4-0 right now. It's a good chance Houston will be getting to a bowl game this year after the rough year last year. And if they give Fritz the time he needs, they'll do just fine. Weirdly enough, Friday scores were the exact same, 27-24 for both Friday games. How about that, Big 12 Nation? Now, Arizona at Iowa State. Iowa State handled Arizona very handily at home, as we thought. Their head coach, he's a heck of a head coach. He's been there since he's been young, and he's building that legacy in Ames, Iowa. I know there was rumors of him going to another team, but I don't see it at this point. He's probably just going to keep building his legacy out there in Ames. Noah for Arizona, their QB who's been there forever. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 253 yards. Ishmael Mahdi, 13 carries, 85 yards. No touchdown. They did get 14 points. So Arizona had 2 receiving touchdowns. 1 touchdown was caught by Chris Huston, and the other touchdown was caught by Trey Spivey. Huston, he had 67 receiving yards. He led the Arizona Wildcats and all receivers. Best player on defense. There were many good plays, but Dalton Johnson led the Arizona Wildcats in tackles. Now, Iowa State does what they always do. They ran the ball really well. They had 2 rushing touchdowns. Carson Hansen had 2. Their QB, no touchdowns, threw 1 interception. And I noticed that with Iowa State QBs, the kid who's out in San Francisco is doing a phenomenal job with the 49ers. But Matt Campbell always keeps them pretty center. He's going to have them throw for 200 yards, but then they're going to try and rush for 200 yards. The way they can pound that clock and, keep it simple. So, and then play great defense, what Iowa State does. Speaking of defense, Caleb Bacon led the team with 8 total tackles. So that is the Iowa State Hawkeyes taking on the daggone Arizona Wildcats. Let's jump to K-State. Let's talk K-State because K-State beat UCF at home. I can't remember the exact score. But, yeah, K-State won 34-20. So, I think UCF needed this game, but Kansas State needed this game more. And Kansas State delivered because this is only Kansas State's second win of the year. But they needed this one big time. UCF, Taven Jackson, he still had he had a couple, things go well for him, but he had one interception and he only threw for 115 yards, 12 for 24. Rushing, Miles Montgomery, 10 for 119. So they had a pretty solid runner. And Jaden Nixon, he had 5 carries for 66 yards. He had a touchdown. UCF receiving, DJ Black led the team, 1 reception for 82 yards and a touchdown. UCF Knights defense, best defensive player for UCF. Anton Jackson, 8 tackles. Now, let's get over here to check out how K-State did because there's been a lot of ups and downs in Manhattan this year. Avery Johnson, 18 of 25, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Dylan Edwards is back. Maybe that's a big deal. Dylan Edwards had 20 carries for 166 yards and a rushing touchdown. 75 long, so he had a really long run. K-State's back in the win column where they need to be. Now, do I want to talk BYU, Colorado next, or should I save it? No, you know what? Let's talk Kansas, Cincinnati real quick. So Kansas is winning this thing, and it looks like they're going to win. And the Bearcats said, no, we're not going to settle for this. We're going to get ahead of the game. And with, I believe, I can't remember how many, it was 30-something seconds left, UC scored a touchdown. And it was over from there. But we'll look at the scores. Brendan Sorsby, he's been there for a while. I think either he was there last year or he's been there majority of the Satterfield tenure. So Evan Pryor, 6 carries for 90 yards. Sorsby, 388 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jake Golday, he led the Bearcats in tackles, 8 tackles, 5 solo. Antoine Peak Jr., if y'all remember Antoine Peak, the legend, the UC legend, one of the top defensive players in the Bearcat history, was part of that Rick Minter era that kind of got UC consistently going to a bowl game every year. If you can remember, he was drafted by the Texans either the 2nd or 3rd round. He was a day 1 pick back in the day, early days. They did the first 3 rounds on the first day. It was Saturday and it was Sunday. There was no, like it is this year, where it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was Saturday and it was Sunday. But to make a long story short, Antoine Peak was one of those guys at UC who he walked on, built his way all the way up to a top elite athlete, and ended up going pro. One of the great success stories in Bearcat history. So it looks like his son is doing big things. He had a tackle for loss, and he had a sack. So cool right there on the behalf of the Bearcats. Let's talk about Kansas. Jelon Daniels. Wow. Jelon Daniels was 19 of 28, threw for 445 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they still lost. No turnovers. That, guys, you just got to finish. You just got to finish. That's all that is with the Jayhawks. You just got to finish. UC stuck around, but UC's known for this. They played Texas Tech close last year on the road, and then they also played Colorado close last year on the road, and almost came back and won those games. So if you play in Cincinnati and they're the road team, you better be prepared for 4 quarters until the clock is at triple zeros because they'll come back. But wow. LaShawn Williams, 10 carries to 64 yards. Receiving, Emmanuel Henderson Jr., 5 receptions, 214 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Damn. Somebody's going to give him some love for Big 12, receiver of the week in a losing effort. It does show Jelon Daniels did have 2 fumbles and he lost 1. So there's one of the turnover issues right there. Lyric Rawls, 10 total tackles. He led the Jayhawks. Jayhawks are 3-2. Bearcats are 3-1. This is the Big 12 Conference. Anything can happen. If you bet on Cincinnati, you hit good on that money line. All right. Baylor at Oklahoma State. Now, y'all know Oklahoma State is on a damn firing spree right now, right? They just fired the damn defensive coordinator, Grantham. I remember when he was at Louisville, he put together a pretty good defense. But what I will say is this. Oklahoma State put up 27 points. Here's where I am confused at before they fired Gundy. If they can score 27 points on Baylor, how are they not able to beat Tulsa? What the heck was that about? You can score 27 points on Baylor, but you can only score 19 points on Tulsa? I don't know. Anyway, Sawyer Robinson was back at it like he was in the first 2 or 3 weeks. 24 of 35, 393 yards, 4 touchdowns. Man threw for 4 touchdowns again. He's well over 1,000 yards on the season. Caden Knighton, 5 carries, 81 yards. He led in rushing. Bryson Washington, 10 carries, 77 yards, had a touchdown. Josh Cameron led the receivers with 98 receiving yards. And Kobe Wilson, Kobe Prentice, Michael Trigg, and Caden Knighton all did well, but those 3, the 2 Kobe's and Michael, all had a receiving touchdown. Keaton Thomas led the Bears with 8 total tackles. Now, Oklahoma State, let's look at their numbers now. Since last week, they only put up 19. QB Zane Flores, 23 of 41. 41. Oh, okay. Hold on now. Looks like Sam Jackson was in there. He was 3 of 4, 46 yards. Trent Howland was in there. He threw. Trent Howland looks like they must have thrown some type of sneak play or trick play. He led the team in rushing, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 16 carries. Now, receiving wise, Shamar Rigby, 5 receptions, 84 yards. But hold on, let me look at this. It doesn't show that Zane Flores threw any interceptions, so that's really good. Brian McCoy Jr. Led the team with 8 total tackles. So, I don't know what's going to go on after the Gundy era. People in Stillwater were pretty upset on both sides. Some thought Coach Gundy should have been able to finish the season. Other people thought it was just a change that needed to happen. I thought even if they did let him go, they would say that he was done at the end of the season, let him finish out the season. Maybe that motivates some of the kids he recruited. But good effort by Oklahoma State at home. You know, they I think that's the most points they've scored in a couple weeks. So we'll see what happens in Stillwater in the offseason. You know, shout out to all you Pokes fans, man. Great program, great atmosphere there. So Utah beat the brakes off of West Virginia. Rich Rod is going to have a lot longer time rebuilding that program than initially thought. He did win the backyard brawl, so I think he gets some credit for that. Devin Dampier, 21 of 26, 237 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Wayshawn Parker, 9 carries, 66 yards, no touchdowns. Dampier, 11 carries, 33 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Ryan Davis led the team in receiving, 7 receptions, 107 yards, and a receiving touchdown also. Dampier did fumble twice, but didn't lose any of them. The leading guy on defense for the Utah Utes, Landon Barton, 8 total tackles. So let's get to, you know what? Let's look at West Virginia. Let's see how their team performed. Khalil Wilkins, 3 of 6. He threw 4 touchdowns, 63 yards. Jalen Henderson, 3 of 7, 22 yards. I remember they were saying at the post-game press conference that West Virginia's having the same problem Prime's having in Colorado. He doesn't have the consistent quarterback play, so, they're working on that. Jared Bowie, 1 carry for 68 yards. He led all rushers down. Hubbard, 10 carries for 61 yards. He had a rushing touchdown. Cam Long led in receiving, 3 receptions for 62 yards, 1 touchdown. No lost fumbles. Derek Carter Jr., 8 total tackles and 2 tackles for loss to lead the Mountaineers. So hopefully they get stuff situated up there in Morgantown. But, 48-14 loss at home. Not looking good. All right, and let's talk about Colorado. Colorado got out to a 14-0, lead. As we know with BYU, they will always come back. If you remember last year when they were at Arizona State, and it was pretty much up for who was going to win the Big 12 because those were the teams that had the most clear path in the Big 12. BYU was down most of the game, and then it went down to the last second, 1 Hail Mary left, and BYU could have came back and won. So when you're playing BYU, you got to be careful because they will slickly and slowly make their way back into the game as long as they have that same head coach. They're going to kick field goals. They're going to run the ball. You give them time left, and you don't put up like 40 or 50 points and get them out of their game where they have to throw the ball more. They're always going to be in the game. I'll go over Kalen Salter's numbers. Like I said with Coach Rich Rodriguez, I think Coach Prime is trying to find a QB similar to Rich Rod out there in Morgantown, somebody who's consistent that understands the moment and they seize the moment. But their QB, 19 of 27, 179 yards. This is the BYU QB. 2 touchdowns. He also led the team in rushing. 15 carries, 98 yards. They know Colorado's had problems with the rushing quarterback, but they started off great. They're up 14-0. I mean, it shouldn't have came down to that. Caden Salter, 11 of 16, 119 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Rushing, Michael Welch, 11 carries, 67 yards for the Buffs. Draylon Miller, 8 carries, 52 yards for the Buffs and a touchdown. Caden Salter, 17 carries for 49 yards and a TD for the Buffs. Receiving, Joseph Williams, 5. I don't understand why they're not getting the ball to Amarion Miller. See, as frustrated as Coach Prime is with the QB play and the play of the offense in general, or just because if you look at Colorado, they could be 4-1 easily. The only team or the only games that they just flat out lost so far this year was to Houston. On the road, they look lethargic, out of it. That was the game they lost. Georgia Tech was a winnable game. This was a winnable game. They got to get their heads out of their butts, man, out there in Boulder. And I was watching Nightcap the other day. I was watching Ocho Cinco and them. And they were saying, if Coach Prime goes somewhere else, he could get the players that he needs. I think for the most part, the defense played well to hold BYU to 24 points. They got to find a way to score more than 1 touchdown in the second half. Excuse me. At least 4 field goals. Like, what happened to the 4 field goals? Like, you have this great kicker. Like, I'm looking at their different possessions. It's like, get some damn field goals. So, I don't know. I'll come back later this week with the odds for the Big 12 coming up and who everybody plays. That's Big 12 Nation, man, for this week. That's the recap. Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State, all still look great. Kansas State got the win that they needed. Cincinnati upset Kansas. Heck of a win for UC. And Utah got back in the winning column after their rough loss to Texas Tech at home. Big 12 Nation, peace.